Did the Phillies win? Spoiler alert, they did not. And the Taiwan Walker exciting train ride has ended. Will the Eagles bring in another Georgia Bulldog, that is? Based off of yesterday's top 30 visit report, there's a chance. Trending the AM talking Eagles, talking Phillies, probably more Sixers and NBA. We're live, taking your thoughts and opinions on everything happening in 30 seconds.
Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 woo!
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on the STT Sports Network. We are live. YouTube and Twitter, you know the drill. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and hit that subscribe button. It is free to do. It does not cost you a thing to show some support to this channel as we continue our climb to 500 subscribers. We are starting this show at 494. We've gained about 9 subscribers in the last 48 to 50 hours. So like, share, subscribe. It literally doesn't cost you a thing to do that, guys. I greatly appreciate it. We got a jam-packed show, jam-packed conversation today. We are talking Phillies and their loss last night to the San Francisco Giants. Concerns, thoughts, comments from the game. Something that I am revisiting as I watch the Phillies outfield struggle and watching some of the other players struggle in this team. Revisiting an idea and a topic and a thought that I had this past offseason for the Phillies. And we're going to talk about that today, okay? Eagles. The draft is just over a week away. Today's Tuesday. So that means we are, 9 days away from the NFL draft. The highest rated draft prospect that has been brought in for top 30 visits. We are up to 23 of the 30 top 30 visits we're allowed. The highest rated one has come in now. It's another Georgia Bulldog. Will Howie actually do what we don't think he normally would do and trade up in the draft and draft a first-round safety? And I got some ideas on why maybe he will. So that's what's on the agenda today. And obviously, loads of poll questions, loads of topics on the Sixers as their season still is over. And we still have to deal with the fact that Daryl, Morey, and Nick Nurse will not be here. And as I'm surfing around social media and talking with people yesterday, it's become abundantly clear that there is a portion of Sixers Nation that actually still has faith in Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse. And there's a portion of the fan base that really, truly believes that running it back is the right way, because if you ask somebody who's the other option and you don't have an answer, that means you shouldn't make changes. Did that come out right? If I don't have an answer on who I'm replacing them with, I'm not allowed to say they need to be moved on from. That's what I'm told constantly. Because I don't know the alternative. And whether the alternative would be better or not, we should not move on. That's a terrible, terrible attitude to take. But anyway, let's start with the Philadelphia Phillies, then we'll move into some Eagles talk and then see where the conversation goes today. Nooms commented last night during the game, Phils are so awesome when no one is in scoring position. I don't even know if the Phillies are good when there's nobody in scoring position. Not sure. Good morning, Little G. Hope you are well today. Well, we might be getting another Georgia Bulldog here. Apparently, the big three of the Sixers is going to spend more time together. Oh, they're going to spend some time together. Yay! And do what? Bunch of injured old players and Tyrese Maxey. I'm sure Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid have a lot of stuff in common to spend time together this offseason. Ooh, yay. Watch me jump up and down for joy. I, for one, could care less. If we have to take a bullet and take 3 steps back so we can move forward, Honestly. Running it back, we are going to be in the same spot next year. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. What's up, Eric? Early in the show today. Oh, you didn't know? You ass better go, somebody. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Yo, I can recite that whole entire intro in my sleep, Eric. Don't worry, Friday, we'll do a little WrestleMania preview on Friday. Sure. It's WrestleMania weekend. I could care less. WrestleMania is meaningless at this point this year. But the Philadelphia Phillies last night lose 10-4 to the San Francisco Giants. Taijuan Walker resorted back to 2024 Taijuan Walker, giving up, 6 runs in the third inning, I think it was. 6 runs in the second inning, ending his 12 or 13 inning scoreless streak. I'll give him credit. He battled after that. He did shut him down for a couple innings after that. And Taijuan Walker back to looking like a normal guy out there. But the same problem still exists with this Phillies team. Same problem. They cannot hit consistently. They swing at pitches out of the zone. They are super talented, but when 5 of them are ice cold, when you got Brandon Marsh, I know he sat yesterday hitting 108. You got Alec Bohm hitting 150. Something is wrong. And again, we've talked about the culture and the attitude and the leadership a lot on this Philadelphia Phillies team. And I'm going to give you a prime example of why this Phillies team will not have major success. They're going to win a lot of games. They're going to win 90-some games still. Talent will win. But when, I forget what inning it was, it's like the 6th or 7th inning of the game last night, JT Realmuto gets called out on a strike 3 feet out of the strike zone. And he's obviously pissed off. And JT Realmuto doesn't show emotion. So when JT Realmuto is showing emotion and Rob Thompson's just standing in the corner of his dugout, not doing a damn thing, that is the personality of this baseball team. That is the personality. That there is no reason why Rob Thompson should not have come out of the dugout and yelled or taken his player's side. Then in the next, intermission, there's a light issue in the stadium, and he's out there yucking it up with the umpire, laughing and joking. In all major sports, in all sports, period, major or not, you take on the personality of your manager or coach. The Eagles took on Nick Sirianni's personality, passion, desire, drive. The Sixers took on Nick Nurse's personality. I don't care. The Flyers took on Torch personality. Bunch of a-holes. The Phillies taking on Rob Thompson's lackadaisical, lazy attitude. And that's why they will not win in the playoffs. I love Rob Thompson, the person. I love Rob Thompson, the baseball mind. Rob Thompson, the manager, is not it. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break it to you. I know it's April 15th. Wow, it's April 15th already. We're halfway through this month. Yay, woohoo. It's only April 15th. It's early. And that's why they're still going to win a lot of baseball games. But they will not win come October because of Rob Thompson. I got something else to say, but I want to power through a few comments here. Rick still thinks his team is a World Series team. Hey, you know what? They're going to win a lot of baseball games. Anthony, good morning to you. Morey had a nerve to throw the strengthening and conditioning under the bus. The Lazarus Pit couldn't save. Yeah, no Lazarus Pit is saving this team. Thank you, Mitch. Yes, we did. Now the new total is close to, between YouTube and Twitter, over 6,500 views on my live master stream. 5 straight hours and change of being live. It was the longest stream I've ever done. It may be the longest stream I ever do. I don't know if I'll ever pass 5 hours straight of live streaming again. I would actually love to try. What's the longest I can go? Can I go 8 hours straight live? What would I have to do to go 8 hours straight? I don't know. Rob has to leave the dugout and argue that call. I can't. Steven, Mr. Fuentes, congratulations on hitting Rory. We'll talk Rory's win tonight, 6 p.m., fairway to heaven. How does Rob not even, like, flinch? He's just there. He's just there. And I've had this problem with him for years now. When does he ever get his players back? When does he ever show emotion? When's he ever going to tell Bryce Harper, yo, they just threw you 15 straight curveballs out of the zone. Stop swinging at them all. When is he going to hold anybody accountable? He's holding Brandon Marsh accountable. I mean, how could you not? He's hitting 100, 108 or whatever. And he sits him down. That's it. Alec Bohm's still out there playing. There's no accountability with the Phillies because they have a manager that does not have a pulse. Just like Josh Harris doesn't have a pulse on the Sixers, Rob Thompson does not have a pulse. Plain and simple. It didn't factor in building the team good enough to make the playoffs, but they had made, hold on. I didn't factor in building the team good enough to make the playoffs, but they had made, and we all squint it, man. Yeah, we have to squint to see it, according to Daryl Morey. Exactly. More golf watch parties. I'm trying to do more watch parties. I want to do one baseball one a week. You know, I'm going to do football next year, pretty much every game. I do want to do more watch parties. And I know that'll help the channel grow immensely, Mitchie Poo. Golf watch parties, maybe for the majors. Maybe the PGA Championship, maybe the U.S. Open, maybe the Open Championship for 4 or 5 hours, maybe. He will get thrown out tonight, a day like, yeah, get thrown out tonight, Big Al, don't mean shit. Last night was your opportunity to fire up your baseball team. Last night was the opportunity for you to set a statement and make a statement for the team that I got your back. Not today. It was yesterday, in the moment. And I often wonder why the Phillies players love Rob Thompson so much. Because he doesn't have their back regularly. But they have his back because he lets them do whatever they want. You know, I keep saying that, and I've been saying, that the Phillies needed to shake things up majorly, whether it was firing Rob Thompson or Kevin Long, whether it was making a drastic change to one of the major contributors in the lineup. And I look back from, I saw a stat pop up on the screen last night about where Kyle Schwarber ranked in OPS. I think it was Kyle Schwarber, in baseball. And I saw a name on that list that was in the top 5 that I wanted this offseason for the Phillies so badly, and that was Kyle Tucker. And I know he was on a 1-year deal, last year of his contract. I know it was going to cost you a lot to trade him for him. And I was willing to part with the prospects and the assets to do that. Kyle Tucker is hitting over 300. He's got almost 20 RBIs. He's got almost a 1.1 OPS. And the trade that sent him to the Cubs, the equivalent was Alec Bohm, Mick Abel, and Adam Miller. And I would have done that in a heartbeat. Yes, I would have traded Adam Miller. And he wanted to enter free agency. And I said, you know what? You trade for him, you might lose him, but you got a full year to sway him. Kyle Tucker said he wanted to enter free agency. The Cubs are pretty close to getting him locked down long term because they've had all this time, in their own private negotiating window before he hits free agency. So they gave up. But you didn't want to give up $80 million. You didn't want to give up Alec Bohm. Well, Bohm, when you realistically think about it, Alec Bohm is a below-average baseball player that had a 3-month Dominic Brown stretch last year. Pretty much it. But you didn't want to get rid of him. And Adam Miller, yeah, great. You don't want to get rid of Adam Miller? Why? Because in 2 years from now, he might be good. If you can't replace Adam Miller in 2 years, and who knows if he's going to be good. And Mick Abel, the once touted pitching prospect, isn't even in the top 10 of Phillies prospects anymore. He'll never make a major league roster at this point. And you don't want to give that shit up? Kyle Tucker would have made a difference. a completely different ball player to what you got. But that might have shook up the locker room a little too much. Major Sundays golf watch parties. Yeah. Absolutely. What's up, Tim? Bohm hit 280, 96, 2 straight years. Got better defensively. Didn't hit more late. Dude, he was like a lot of the Phillies, pretty average after the All-Star break last year, Tim. Look at those splits. That average was well north of 300 at the All-Star break last year. There's a point where he should have been well north of 100 RBIs. I know he got injured. That'll be your counter. No, you can move on from Alec Bohm. You could have. Now you can't. You can't keep assuming that it's just going to be fine. Change needed to happen. You can have Kyle Tucker instead of Max Kepler, or you can broaden Kepler as well. Your outfield could be Kepler, Tucker, and Castellanos. Yeah, sure, it wouldn't be great defensively, but you play Alec Bohm at third base, so who cares about defense? We wouldn't have Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas in center field right now. I know Ada Miller wouldn't be here, but you know what? Who cares? You got a World Series window right here. But you're worried about the next World Series window instead. Garrett Crochet or Croquet, however you say his name. He's got a sub-1 ERA. You could have traded for him. He's got an 0.57 ERA in 5 starts. You didn't want to part with prospects for him. Shaking things up is what needed to happen, and it didn't happen. And here we are. Phillies and Sixers should take Howie's attitude, fix it, don't run it. Absolutely. That we agree on, Tim. There is no reason the Sixers are running it back. There's no reason that the Phillies ran it back. But we're going to. Because, well, the Phillies, I don't know why the reason the Phillies can't make changes. The Sixers, I at least understand why the Sixers aren't making changes. Because they have an owner that doesn't care. That's basically given Daryl Morey carte blanche to do whatever he wants. Literally whatever he wants. I would Phil on that one. I mean, you should be on my side with all of it, just so you know. You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Nailed it. The Phillies are afraid to break those eggs. The Sixers are afraid to break those eggs. Howie Roseman, he ain't afraid to do anything. Because Howie Roseman, see, the thing is, like, Daryl Morey, Dave Dombrowski, Rob Thompson, Nick, they all have this confidence from their owners. But it's like blind confidence that they're given. Like, Howie Roseman's got that confidence because he's proven he can make mistakes, but he knows how to fix them. These guys don't fix it. The ego in Daryl Morey to think that running it back, or Josh Harris to run it back, or John Middleton or Dave Dombrowski to just run it back. The ego it's got to take to not be willing to admit your mistakes. Just think about it. We made a mistake with the Eagles. We gave Carson Wentz a huge contract. Moved on from it. Took the hit. Got rid of it. Moved on from older players. Got younger. I look at Malaki Starks, brought in for a top 30 visit. A guy you'd have to trade up. Howie Roseman has now missed on 2 starting safeties in the first round the last couple years. The big one being Kyle Hamilton, and you took George Davis. Howie Roseman learns from his mistakes. It's going to take you moving up into the top 20, top 18 to get Starks. You don't bring him in as a top 30 visit if there's not at least a little thought process. I might move some of those future assets to move up. Because Howie's learned. Missing out on him. He could have gotten Brian Branch a few years ago instead of Nolan Smith. I know he ended up falling into the second round then, Branch, to the Lions, but he's now missed out on 2 guys that could be starting safety next to Reed Blankenship. He might not do that this year. He might be like, you know what? Let's just have the most dominant secondary in football with Coop, with cue ball, and then throw in Starks as well. Because he's not afraid to break an egg, to make that omelet. I love that line. Actually, before I get to your next comment, Tim, got to break an egg to make omelet. I love that line. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that a lot in life, okay? You use that a lot in life now. Love that phrase. They run it back for what reason? Money? Sixers are top 10 in home attendance for the years. Yeah, look, there makes no sense for the Phillies and Sixers to run things back like they have been, Tim. It literally makes no sense. And that, Tim, it's really annoying. And there's guys out there, well, I say guys figuratively, guys and girls, reporters, media members, writers, fans that are saying, well, this really drives me nuts. I said it in the cold open. It drives me nuts when I say Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse should be fired. Their response is, well, who's going to replace them? I don't know. I don't care. Why keep them? Because I don't have an answer on who's next? The grass isn't always greener? Well, your grass is dead right now. Okay? You've got to rip that dead grass out and lay new sod. I don't know what kind of sod to lay. I'm not an expert, but I do know the sod out there right now is dead. I hate that answer to anything in sports. Well, if you don't like that person or player or coach, what's the alternative? Not my job. The Sixers actually third in the whole league in home attendance. I'm not shocked because they kept dangling like Karen. Whoa, Tyrese Maxey might come back. Joel Embiid might come back. How are we looking content-wise today? We're talking football. Malaki Starks, Georgia, brought in for a top 30 visit. Will Howie Roseman do the thing and move up to get a safety? We're talking Sixers. We're talking Phillies. We're trying to get more likes, more shares, and more subscribes on this channel. That's what we're doing. The difference is Howie changed his philosophy. Stop signing old guys on short-term deals, ignoring the running back, linebacker. Howie learned to evolve. No longer are the days of him making a mistake and holding on to that mistake too long. That was a big Howie MO. He kept guys like Jay Jaw too long. They don't do that. He makes a mistake, he moves on. And he learns. Howie learns from his mistakes. That's the difference. I'm the sod father. Yeah, we got crack. We got omelet references. I'm making references to grass. This is like a very philosophical show today, Big Al. There are a bunch of options. If you don't want a name, get one of these. Dude, exactly. There are names. I don't have to have the answer yet to that name. No need to have an answer. Just because I'm not giving you an answer doesn't mean it's not the right move. And those same people are trying to tell us, don't worry, Joel Embiid will be healthy. This team's going to cook next year. I hate when people say this team's going to cook next year with all these pieces back. Because you're going to get all big three back. McCain's going to be back. Yabusele will be re-signed, even though he's a free agent. Grimes is a diamond in the rough. And you got a top 5 pick. So we're going to cook next year. If that's not the loudest big of horseshit out there, to just magically believe, if you believe magically that running this team back with a top 5 pick is just going to magically be a top 3 team in the East next year, you probably still believe in the Tooth Fairy, too. Just like, no offense to Rick. I love Rick, and I love Rick's podcast. And I love his support. But you know what? Just assuming this Phillies team's going to win a World Series because you probably believe in the Easter Bunny, who will come on Sunday. Like, seriously. Nuggets coach, Grizzlies coach, Suns coach. There are plenty of options. You can run it back with another star coach. I'm sure there's a GM out there. I mean, the Nuggets fired their GM too. Let's go get Malone and Calvin Booth and just run back their front office here in Philly. I mean, so here's the thing. I ran literally 10 mock drafts this morning just for theory purposes. I love the fact that they're bringing Starks in for a top 30 visit. Safety to me is a much bigger need than people realize. He missed out on Kyle Hamilton and Brian Branch in recent years. Howie learns from his mistakes, knows he needs another young safety. You're not bringing in Starks if you're not considering. He is not going to be there at 32. So you don't waste a top 30 visit. He was number 22 or 23. There's 23 in. I don't know which one he was. I think he was counted as number 22. You don't waste one of your last 8 top 30 visits on a guy you're not considering taking. And I did the numbers last week. Like 9 of 16 draft picks over the last 2 years had top 30 visits. You don't bring him in unless you're considering trading up for him. And I run like 10 mock drafts, and he went between 17, 18, or 19 in every single one of them. So you're going to have to move up into the top 20 to get him. You've got the ammo to do it. You go get Starks, you have the best secondary in football, the best young secondary in football now. I do it. Now, Dibes, you know the draft more, and I think I got to text you. I forgot to text you. You're available what, Thursday, I think? I think you're available Thursday. So you can come on and explain this a little bit more on Thursday. Maybe we'll run a mock draft on Thursday with Dibes, if he's still available. How much is it going to cost you? What's the draft offer? What's the trade offer to get to, say, 18 or 19 next Thursday? Very philosophical. It's a very philosophical day today. It is. How he changed when Chip put him in the private office. He came out knowing that it could happen again, and he'd relent. Exactly. He evolved. Where's the evolving from the rest? Eagles have so many picks the next 2 years, they can move up easily. How much is it going to cost to go from 32, just say 18, 32 to 18? Say that's what it takes to get started. What's it cost? I need multiple IDs. Trust the chat GPT. That's right. I think they move up to the early to mid-20s if someone falls. That's got a top edge rusher, D-tackle written all over it. Pierce Nolan. Yeah, they can all do it. Oh, it's Friday you're off. I thought it was Thursday. For some reason, I thought it was weird that I thought you were off on Thursday. All right, Friday we're running a mock draft. I don't know. Friday's also it's also WrestleMania preview day. I could join for a little, then we're heading to Hershey Park. Okay. Well, then you got a day next week, too. You said you're off. Maybe Monday next week? Well, we'll get you. I'll text you after the show. A 1, a 3, and 2 5s. So to go from 32, so it's going to take you 32, this year or next year's 3, and 2 5s. Do it. Hashtag. What did we used to say? What did the cuz used to say during the Marcus Mariota draft? Hashtag do the deal. Do it. Get it done and get yourself a top safety that'll patrol the back of the secondary for the next 10 years. And it's another Georgia Bulldog. Howie obviously likes his Georgia Bulldogs. I'm trying to think. Starks had to have some overlap with Jalen Carter, right? Probably not Jordan Davis, but definitely a year with Jalen Carter. All right, we'll get you in here on Monday. We'll get you in here. I'll text you later. Anyway. The Phillies were afraid to trade assets to go get a Kyle Tucker. The Sixers are afraid to trade assets to move off of Joel. Well, the Sixers are just afraid to fire the guy that gave Joel Embiid and Paul George those contracts. Hell, I'm trading it all. You can't. If you're afraid, go get a dog. Could you imagine what this Phillies lineup would look like if Kyle Tucker was a Philly right now? I don't know. They're afraid. Trade rumor. Huff first and next year's first to the Giants too. You wish. You wish. You wish. Then trade up. And then trade back. Yeah, that's not going to happen, Eric. When the Yankees had their window, they traded prospects and spent money, then sold those guys for prospects. Yeah, look, go back, Tim. You're old enough to remember. Go back to the 2007 through 2012 Phillies. We traded a dozen prospects. Some can't-miss prospects. Did any of them become jack shit? I mean, the best prospect we traded turned out to be Carlos Carrasco. And he's a good prospect. He turned into a good pitcher. His personal story, overcoming cancer and stuff, is bigger than his career. Outside of that, all those other untouchables turn into nothing. If you trust your drafting, if you trust your development system, there'll be another Aiden Miller in 2 years, 3 years. But no. We're more worried about 5 years from now than right now when you have a $300 million payroll that needs a tweak. Just think about this. Everybody wants Sosa to start. Well, if you would have traded Bohm and Miller and gotten Kyle Tucker, you'd have Sosa starting, which I don't think Sosa's a starter. I've said that. But you put Kyle Tucker in the 3-hole of this lineup, hell, you could go. You could go Schwarber 1, Turner 2, Harper 3, Tucker 4, Castellanos 5. Tell me that lineup wouldn't scare some people. Everybody would have protection now. I would love to see the Giants pass on Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter and draft Sanders. That would be pretty funny. And I think I read something yesterday, maybe today, that they are bringing in Sanders for a visit. Classic New York Giants. Classic. Remember the uproar about trading away Draybeck, Jesse Biddle? Remember who were the baby aces they used to call in the minor leagues, Tim? It was Draybeck, it was Jesse Biddle, Adam Morgan, not Adam Morgan, Morgan, right? He was a lefty. That turned out to be just a reliever, not a starter when he got to the bigs. And there was one other. We called them the baby aces. You couldn't touch any of them. None of them amounted to jack shit in baseball. Don Brown, untouchable. He had 2 months of good baseball in his career. Remember Michael Taylor? He was before Don Brown. He was untouchable. The last I looked, I think he ended up with 4 plate appearances for the Oakland Athletics in Major League Baseball. Lou Marson was the catcher. Luke Donald, the second baseman. Can't trade any of these guys. Why not? And if you're saving them to replace someone else, you know what? We traded Jim Thome to bring up Ryan Howard. Well, you should have traded Bohm away and brought up Aiden Miller then, if you're just going to not use either of them the right ways. There are moves to be made, moves that can be made. Now everybody's talking, well, the Phillies are going to shake things up by the deadline. Well, the time to shake things up was 2 months ago, 3 months ago, before the season started. Now, this is just the same old, same old. The same old, same old. Trevor May, Jared Kozar, just the list goes on and on. But yet we're afraid. And you know what's kind of comical, honestly, at this point, is the Phillies are afraid to trade prospects with a GM president in power that is known for trading prospects. I mean, what was the package he gave up to go get Miguel Cabrera with Detroit? I mean, it was a haul. Yet he wasn't willing to give up Aiden Miller for Kyle Tucker. I was willing to trade Nick Castellanos. I was willing to trade Kyle Schwarber. I was willing to trade Alec Bohm. I was willing to trade JT Realmuto. Whoever you had to trade to shake this up, you needed a shifting culture. Same thing with the Sixers. You need a shifting culture. If you got to trade Joel Embiid and you got to attach something to it to get off that contract, you do it. If you got to trade Paul George to shift the culture, you do it. You also got to change the coach of GM, but you won't. Yeah, Pettibone, there was one. Who was the other guy recently? Like 5 years, few years ago. He ended up never being able to get out of the third inning of a baseball game. I think we traded him to the Rangers. I'm forgetting the other dude's name. But I remember Pettibone. There was another guy in recent years. I think we traded him to the Rangers because he pitched in Philly like the next year against us. And he still couldn't get out of the third inning. Like, everyone says you can't trade prospects because you need homegrown talent. I think the philosophy that you have to have homegrown talent or a team full of homegrown talent to win a World Series is the biggest load of bullshit in the world. You don't need a bunch of homegrown talent. And quite frankly, there is plenty of homegrown talent on this team. Stop. Boom. Homegrown talent. Marsh isn't, but sort of. Rojas, homegrown. Spencer Howard, that's the one. I couldn't trade Spencer Howard for anybody. God forbid. That dude was a bust. So bad. So bad. We got Aaron Nola, homegrown talent. Got plenty of homegrown talent. You don't need it. The Phillies, when they won the World Series in 2008, Yeah, they had Howard Utley Rollins and Cole Hamels. But Shane Victorino was a Rule 5 pick. That outfield of Jason Worth, Jeff Jenkins, Raul Ibanez, not homegrown. Most of the pitchers after Cole Hamels were not homegrown. Why do we need homegrown talent to win a World Series? It don't matter anymore. What matters is winning a World Series. And moving on, sometimes it's necessary. Look at the tough decisions that Howie Roseman's made. Getting rid of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson this offseason. Huge part of winning the Super Bowl this year. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Howie is not afraid to just move on. We're probably going to see the end of the Dallas Goedert era in Philadelphia here over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Not afraid to make the big, bold, scary move. And the Phillies had a big, bold move there. Kyle Tucker for Bohm, Miller, McAble. And they said no. We don't want to risk losing our homegrown Bohm, and Ada Miller. Exactly. This Phillies window. How much longer, really, is this Phillies window for the World Series? Bryce Harper's getting up there. I know he's still got 6 years left or so on his deal, but he's aging. Trey Turner is aging. JT Realmuto, this might be his last year in Philly. Kyle Schwarber might be his last year in Philly. Nick Castellanos is getting up there in age. Zach Wheeler's got a ton of mileage on an arm that's already been rebuilt. Aaron Nola's got a ton of mileage. How much longer do you really have with this window? But you're afraid. I'm the one that sat here on this show on like 2 previous networks ago, 2 trade deadlines ago, not last year, the year before, when Ohtani was coming to the end of his window, and I was willing to trade Andrew Painter for a half a year of Shohei Ohtani. He was still pitching at the time, Ohtani. Why? Because I wanted to capitalize on that World Series window in 23. But no, we can't trade him. He's going to be great. And yeah, Andrew Painter, theoretically, is going to be great. But let's be honest. Andrew Painter hasn't thrown a meaningful baseball game in 18 months. Bad. I don't even know if we have 3 years left in this World Series window. In 3 years, this Phillies team will look drastically different. Because Casty, Schwarber, JT, all will be gone. But we're worried about keeping all this homegrown talent. Why? Why? Who cares? These aren't the Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins type Phillies. These aren't that elite of homegrown talent that you can't move on from them. Aiden Miller, he's 20 years old. He's 2 years away from having a chance. If he's so good and so untouchable, he'd be in the bigs right now. God, Bob, but my name is Homegrown Talent God. It doesn't matter what your name is. What? I'm missing that one. I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that one. Oh, and by the way, to the idiot on Twitter, because I was talking about Kyle Tucker last night and how I wanted him. I know I wasn't the only one that wanted him. I hate trolls on Twitter. They're so bored they got fake accounts with faceless profile pictures that want to troll me nonstop. It's hilarious, honestly. Barber, yes, last night was bad again. Can't anybody? I don't know. We've now run out. We're like 16 games in a season. We've probably had 12 different lineups already this year. Whatever happened to just having the same lineup night in and night out? Whatever happened to consistency? And Barb, we talked about already. JT Realmuto strikes out on a ball looking so far out of the strike zone. And what does Rob Thompson do? Stands there. Doesn't even flinch while JT Realmuto is almost thrown out of a baseball game. Then he's yucking it up with the ump in the intermission during when the lights went out. Ridiculous. If the guys in the minors are so good, then why not bring them up? If not, use them to get players that are good. Absolutely. Prospects are just that, prospects. You know, you want to get off that Joel Embiid contract and you want to trade Jared McCain? Go for it. Saw somebody say the other day, or yesterday on Twitter, some writer for some website, that Jared McCain, you found a diamond in the rough. He's going to be a future All-Pro. Get the fook out of here with that kind of a comment. There's no world where the 3 weeks of Jared McCain's success tells me that he's going to be a future All-Pro in the NBA. It's insanity. But we're afraid. Rock's legendary promo to Billy Gunn. Oh, I don't even remember that one. Sorry. The team follows the manager. I said it before. I said it already today once. You take on the personality of your manager, and Rob Thompson's quiet. The team is quiet. That's the problem. Thompson is a stooge, but actually with 2 strikes, you're supposed to protect the plate. Swing if it's close even. But see, the thing is, the JT Real Muto strikeout wasn't close, Barb. It wasn't. That you can't swing at that. That pitch was so far outside. I didn't need the batter's eye box on the TV screen to tell me that that was a ball. That's how far outside it was. And Barb, you know I'm not a Rob Thompson guy. Some call me a hater. Am I a hater? No. I'm just real. I'm just honest. And I've been saying it since they went to the World Series in 22 that he wasn't the guy for this team. Call me crazy. But every single game that is played, I get more and more right as we go. And I hope I'm wrong. You know I'll admit I'm wrong if I'm wrong. But here we are. There's such a difference between how Howie Roseman runs the team with Daryl Morey and Dave Dombrowski. There just is. I don't really care about the nail polish stuff. That doesn't bother me as much. Jared McCain's a nice player. He might develop into a nice player. Jared McCain has a personality. Cool. You can't be afraid to move on from him because you saw 2 months of success from the guy. And not even great success, good success. That one pitch didn't cost them the game. No, what cost them the game was Bryce Harper swinging at 15 straight curveballs out of the strike zone. What cost them the game, and this is not to knock the guy because he's put out a hell of an effort this year, Taijuan Walker is still in your starting rotation. That cost them the game. What cost them the game? The bullpen in the 7th and 8th inning or 8th and 9th inning, giving up more runs, making it unsurmountable odds for them to come back. What cost them the game was Rob Thompson, was Dave Dombrowski, was a bunch of players that just don't care. And Bryce Harper don't care enough to run out a ground ball a couple days ago. Why would anybody put any hustle in tomorrow or today? And then creating a burner just to talk smack. Go for it. Go for it. Help. All I tell all the trolls, all you're doing is helping my algorithm by trolling me. So Howie runs the team to win. Sixers and Phillies run it to sell hope and tickets. Well, if you're scared, go get a dog. World Series aren't won on hopes and dreams. This ain't angels in the outfield. This is real life. Real life. And unfortunately, the Eagles, I said this earlier, Tim, not today, like a week or two ago. I said, are the Phillies closer to being the disaster of the Sixers or winning a World Series like the Eagles won a Super Bowl? And everyone told me they're so much closer to, they're much more like the Philadelphia Eagles than the Sixers. And I disagreed. I said, no, they're more closer to a disaster than winning a championship. Morey's a national laughingstock. Everyone was talking about his statement about next year's team. But there's still people that believe it. People are buying it. And I'm seeing it all over. And I'm trying to call out the nonsense without being a total a-hole. It's a laughing stock, the amount of people that actually believe it. It's sad. Still drinking his haterade. Call me a hater? I am. Sure. I'll drink it as long as it's a good flavor. Insurmountable. Be better, Phil, not unsurmountable. I always got to be better. I got to be better. Give me Grimes all day. I'll take that sample size. I don't care about Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes might be an okay bench player on an NBA team. But Quentin Grimes ain't saving. Putting Quentin Grimes and beating Paul George. He ain't going to see the court next year. These Phillies are resembling the Eagles throughout the 2000s. Favored to win, but don't. Yeah, they're teams that's going to make the playoffs because, let's be honest, they frustrate the hell out of us, Barb. But they're still going to win 90 games. Maybe 88 now instead of 90. They're still going to make the playoffs. This team is built for the regular season. They're built for 162 games. They're not built to win a playoff series. Not a best of 7. Grimes isn't a savior. He's not getting 20-plus shots per game next year. He's a good bench guy. He's a good bench guy on an okay team. If you are a title-contending team, Quentin Grimes ain't playing a minute. People need to get off this Quentin Grimes hype train. He's all right. He's a journeyman. He's a guy that gets buckets on bad teams or sits the bench on a good team. I don't want to hear about Quentin Grimes or Justin Edwards. They're the saviors of next year. If you're relying on Quentin Grimes and Justin Edwards next year, then we're in the same place as we are this year. Or trade Embiid, trade Paul George, and build around this young new core. Go for it. Go all in on the youth. But no, we're running it back. And here we go. Go again to compare to Howie Roseman and the Eagles. 2023. Coming off a Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs. 2023 happens. And they collapse at the end of the year. And what does Howie Roseman do? He fires 2 coordinators. Well, 3, because Desai / Patricia got fired. Brian Johnson got fired. Okay? He moved on from James Bradbury in theory. He went out and addressed every weakness on this team. He went out and got Saquon Barkley. He went out and addressed linebacker. Wasn't afraid. Didn't just, what would have happened last year if we just ran back everything from 23? We wouldn't have won a World Super Bowl. So we're still at 484 subscribers. That means we've gained no more today. Or it's 494. So, guys, please hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. It's free to do. It costs you nothing to do. Like, share, subscribe, guys. So do that. I know you told me this yesterday, and I get it. I get your reasoning because he's the last year of his deal. You get off of a couple years of Paul George, and if we're still losing, you trade him at the deadline. I get that. And in that sense, it makes sense. But you're going to have to include something in that deal as well. Paul George for KD straight up ain't happening. Go ahead. Throw in a future draft pick. Go on. Throw in Jared McKean or Quentin Grimes rights. Whatever. Do I like Oubre? I think he sucks. Grimes has experience on good Knicks teams. I know he has experience on the Knicks teams. Do I like Kelly Oubre? He's a nice kid. He's a nice player. He's not a starter. I said it before the season. He's not a starter. He's a good bench player. I think they should have traded him at the trade deadline because he's coming up on, he's got, a player option or a team option this upcoming year on his contract. I would have traded him at the trade deadline. He wants to stay in Philly, and that's fine. But I would have traded him at the trade deadline. I would have traded him. I would have traded Kelly Oubre. I would have traded Yabusele at the deadline. I would have traded them all. Traded Andre Drummond at the deadline. But no, you couldn't trade any of them. Morey wasted Embiid's window. Embiid is Supersonics Ewing right now. Not calling Grimes a savior, but he's a hell of a lot worth more than podcast Paul George. least he puts effort out there, I guess. What team would want Paul George injured? Well, this year he was injured. Actually, I think a couple of the last few years he's played like 70 games. There were a lot of teams that wanted Paul George last offseason. They just didn't want 4 years of Paul George. So, in theory, there's a way to convince Golden State, the Lakers, Phoenix, one of those West Coast teams to take him if you include something with them. If you have to include Jarrett McCain to get off of Paul George's contract, would you? I would. Hey, that Super Bowl champ Bradbury shows that that's true. James Bradbury does have a Super Bowl. He's got more Super Bowl rings than Joel Embiid and Bryce Harper have championship rings combined. Oubre, Drummond, and Gordon all have player options, yeah. Drummond and Gordon, they'll probably all get picked up. They all had bad enough seasons to want the player option. None of them should be here, but they probably all will be here. I don't want KD. Have we learned anything? He had a season ending. No, look, all right. Me and Tim off the air on Twitter had this conversation. I said the same thing, but then he reminded me KD is on an expiring contract. So you got to trade money you have to give up, you have to take money back to get rid of Paul George. So call Kevin Durant for Paul George straight up financially would work. And then you'd be off that contract after 1 year or trade him at the deadline. So in theory, the financial ramifications for KD for Paul George make sense. I get it. I don't want no more aging superstars to try to pair with Joel Embiid. I'm just throwing it out there like Tim brought up on Twitter yesterday that it would clear 2 years. So instead of having 3 years of Paul George, you'd have 1 year of Kevin Durant. And in theory, big picture down the line, that would be smart. Durant might go to the Knicks for cat and draft picks, which the Sixers don't have. Yeah. Is the cat train already? I haven't watched enough Knicks basketball to know how Karl Anthony Towns is making out in New York. I know they're the 3 seed, but that's it. Yeah, it makes sense, Tim. It's a creative way to get off of the last 2 years of Paul George's contract. It is. So I get that. You're going to have to include something else in that deal. I would include Jarrett McCain in it. I would. I'll find a way, if I was Sixers management, to get rid of Paul George and Joel Embiid this offseason. And I would give up whatever it takes to do that, even if it means next year's another bad year. Oh well. I'll take one more bad year of Sixers basketball to reset the following year. Cat is having his best year. Honestly, I've watched no Knicks basketball this year. I couldn't even tell you what Cat's numbers look like, how many games he's played, anything. The Knicks are not a team I'm watching. Yeah, the KD thing isn't to help us win a title next year. The KD thing is to free up money, to improve the team down the line. That would be the only reason why we would do that. See, here's the thing. Again, we go back to Howie Roseman. What's it going to take for Howie Roseman to move up to 18 to get Malaki Starks? It's going to take future assets. It might take Jordan Davis or Sidney Brown or Dallas Goedert, young players that people like, or Dallas Goedert that people love. If he calls a team, say, I don't even know. Let me look on a mock draft board here. Who's pick 17? The Bengals. Calls the Bengals. He goes like, yo, Cincinnati, what's it going to take for your draft pick? And then give them their demands. He'll negotiate it down. But he won't be afraid. Because you can't win titles by being afraid. You just can't. Cat sits out on the three-point line. T-Wolves and Ant-Man love Randall. He's more of a team player according to TV shows. Can't trust the TV shows, first and foremost. But yeah, doesn't Cat call himself the greatest shooting big man of all time? Cat's soft. Softer than Charmin. Can't stand the guy. I'm glad he's on the Knicks. I don't know what they would do there. I don't know. Honestly, I've watched minimal basketball this year because of the Sixers' struggle. Yeah, he ain't ice cream. He ain't like that hard, like, froyo. He's like soft serve that comes out of that McDonald's machine and just like drips out. That's the kind of ice cream he is. T-Wolves are worse this year with Randall. The record might be worse. Look, I'm not a Karl-Anthony Towns guy. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is slightly overrated. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is soft, whatever. The Knicks ain't going anywhere this playoff. I've watched no Knicks basketball, but I can tell you they ain't winning the East. They're just not. Hell, they might lose to the Pistons in the first round. I think that's the matchup, right? Pistons-Knicks. I know I'll be rooting for the Pistons. That's for sure. My mind is just, I think I got too fired up today. I really do. I think this whole Sixers-Phillies situation is killing my good vibes from the Eagles. Because it's so easy to stay the same. But it takes guts to make change. The Sixers and the Phillies are taking the easy way out. Versus the Eagles that do whatever it takes to win. Can't stand Cat. I think he's overrated, but he's doing well with it. Well, I won't lie. I won't act like I've watched Knicks basketball. I won't. T-Wolves are better, definitely more balanced. Their win-loss record might not be better, is what I think Tim's getting at. Cat's soft game fits this generation of soft NBA. That's why he's doing so well recently. Yeah, the NBA is soft. I won't lie. Guys, it's top of the hour. Like, share, subscribe. You guys, do that, please. It's literally free to go that, and that. It really is. It really is. What I got to do is I got to get a screenshot of YouTube. I got to change this graphic so when I point to it, it's right where the like button is. That's what I got to do. But that's a lot of work that I don't have time for. So what are we talking about here at the top of the hour? We're talking about the Phillies and last night's game and how it's a blueprint on how the rest of the season's going to go. How the Sixers running it back is going to be the blueprint on how the next 5 years is going to go for the Sixers. And we're talking Malaki Starks. How much would you trade up for him? Because I would trade up a ton. And why Kyle Tucker should be on the Phillies right now. But he's not. The other things we're talking about, I got one other thing we're going to touch on in a second. What's bad is this is not a great NFL draft, and the Eagles have the last pick. I don't think it's a bad draft, Barbara. There's not many studs. No stallions in this draft. You got to do Carter. Stuff like that. You don't have those can't miss blue chip. You got to have them that multiple teams are trying to trade up to get him kind of draft pick. That's what you don't got this year. And that's why so many Eagles fans and media members predict the Eagles to trade back. Because there's value, there's depth, there's a lot of good rotational pieces, a lot of guys that can step in, play 30% of snaps immediately on defense, or be developed to be Lane Johnson's replacement. There's a lot of that. There's not a lot of Jalen Carter or Quinion Mitchell or Saquon Barkley or Jalen Hurts in this draft. That's what we're missing in this draft. But if Starks is a guy that normally would go 32 to 40, but he's going to go 17 to 20 this year, and Malaki Starks is a guy that you think can start immediately opposite of Reed Blankenship, and you've got 6,001 draft picks over the next 2 years, you've got players that you've got to move on from, Dallas Goedert, maybe Jordan Davis. You make a package of picks and players, and you move up and go get them. And if that's the guy they want, I have faith in Howie Roseman to go do it. Damon Wayans Jr. looks like Jalen Hurts. The Wayans brothers. Hey, you're making me think of the Wayans brothers here for a second. Yeah, the two comedy boys. I don't know which one. There was 3 or 4 of them, and they had a sister. You had the TV show comedy. that they did, the brothers, the Wayans brothers show. Obviously, they all got their start on In Living Color, one of the greatest comedies of all time. Which now I got to call out the Fired Up Sports Channel. They did the best sitcoms of all time, and In Living Color wasn't on there. And then you had the one that was the action star that did a low down dirty Shame. The Wayans brothers, underrated comedy family and Hollywood family right there. A lot of bad movies, no doubt. But they were funny. Don't forget to squint really hard for the Phillies. Ooh, maybe if I squint really hard, it'll look good. Get the fook out of here with comments like that. Not you, Nooms. The executives that tell us that. Eagles are going to finally draft best defensive tackle about at that garbage spot. Most likely, in theory, they will trade back or draft the best defensive tackle. Yes. That is in what theory will happen. But I am all here for them trading up for Starks. All here. Solidify that safety. Solidify that secondary. And then get a defensive tackle in the second round or third round. Eagles have enough picks to move up and still draft them. Absolutely. Trade as many of next year's picks. We want to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Starks gives you a better chance at doing that than, say, I'm looking at defensive tackles here in a second. Then wait until the second round to get What's going to give you a better chance to repeat next year? Starks or TJ Sanders? Starks or Kenneth Grant? Starks or Turner or Walker? Or let's go to defensive ends. Izuka, how do you say it? Izunraka, whatever his name is. There's a bunch of names I can't pronounce. Aludejo. What's giving you the better chance next year? It's not a weak draft. There's just not a lot of quarterbacks and wide receivers. That is true. That's true. What's up, mister? Good morning to you. Hope you're well. TV show was on last night. Father and Son, Damon Wayans. I watched it. They're still good. Big Papa's House is the name of it, I think. Yeah, I don't know. The Wayans brothers, man. Love it. Love a Wayans brothers reference. You just never know what's going to come up. You just never know. You have Damon. You have Marlon. You got a lot of them. The Wayans brothers, man. You never know what's going to come up on this show. The Knicks need an injury from another team. They can't beat the Cavs or Celtics. I don't know if they can beat the Pistons, Nooms. Again, let me get off this and get to the NBA standings here. The playoff bracket here. I think it's the Pistons. Yeah. The Pistons are winning that series in 6. There, you said it right. You heard it right here. Pistons beat the Knicks in 6 games. There we go. 6 games. I need 6 subscribers, but the Pistons win in 6 games over the Knicks. Get it done. Get it done. Let it happen. I don't think so. Don't think what? Homie, don't. Oh, Homie the Clown. I don't think so. Homie, don't play that. Boom. Homie the Clown. Love Homie the Clown. Love it. Jim Carrey? No, just so you know. He was known as James Carrey in the credits for In Living Color. He wasn't calling himself Jim yet at that point. In Living Color, fantastic. What's up to you, mister? I love you, my man. Appreciate you. Even Sixers fans would root for Tobias in that series. I got a poll going. Let me find it here. Let's see where the results are at this point. I ran a bunch of polls yesterday on the Sixers. Sixers Nation, a very simple question. Who are you rooting for in the NBA championship this postseason? Tobias Harris, Pistons. James Harden, Clippers. Someone else. None. I hate the NBA. 88 votes so far. 54% say no one, hate the NBA. 10%, so 8 votes went to Tobias Harris. 7%, so like 7 votes went to James Harden. 28% said other, but didn't comment. So there's the answer to that poll question. Did we see the real time? Honestly, Taiwan Walker, even though he gave up 6 runs in the second inning, Camden, you still got to tip the cap. He settled down and got 3 more innings of clean baseball. I tipped the cap to Taiwan Walker. He sucks. He shouldn't be on the team. But you know what? He's not let the outside noise stop him from trying. He's put more heart and hustle into this season, Taiwan Walker, than Alec Bohm, than Brandon Marsh, than Bryce frickin' Harper. Plain and simple. Tylan Walker is one of the few Phillies that actually cares this year. It's a bad draft compared to others. No big can't-miss start. That's the thing. There's a lot of depth. This year's draft is the draft where maybe you trade some of those picks from next year to get a whole bunch of second and thirds this year. Because there's a lot of depth. There's just no, you're not going to see someone trade from 20 up to 2. Because that's not the kind of draft it is. We've seen the real Marsh, Bohm, JT, and the rest of it. We've seen it for a while. We've known it. I got crushed, Barb, for saying I would trade Alec Bohm and Aiden Miller for Kyle Tucker. Last offseason. Last trade deadline. Got crushed for it both times. Alec Bohm sucks. Aiden Miller's still not ready. And Mick Abel ain't even a top draft prospect anymore. But yet, we're scared. Can't trade prospect. For 1 year, Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker would drastically. If you would have traded all that for Kyle Tucker, then you probably wouldn't have spent money on Max Kepler. You would have to go out and find a new third baseman. I don't remember who else was available for third base. It would have changed everything philosophically in the offseason. It would have. How does Kevin Long still have a job when he can't get his players tonight? How many pitches last night did Bryce Harper swing at that were curveballs? Literally, 14 of 15 pitches were curveballs. And I think 13 of those 14 curveballs were out of the strike zone. And he swung at all of them. All right, fine. To the Rob Thompson people that call me a hater, you can't fire Rob Thompson. Well, you could have at least fired Kevin Long. But no. He's Bryce Harper's buddy. You had to keep Kevin Long because maybe we would have gotten Juan Soto. We were never getting Juan Soto. So keeping Kevin Long for Juan Soto was a dumb idea. And Bryce Harper having his best buddies around, what has that gotten us? Bryce Harper's brought in all his buddies. And I love Bryce Harper. But I might be very close to turning heel. You know, it's WrestleMania week. So let's use the word heel. I'm very close to turning heel. And throwing Bryce Harper under the bus here. Very close. I'm tap dancing. He's tap dancing on my last nerve. No analytically driven team is trading for Alec Bohm. No. Now, no. Maybe in the offseason they would have. They would have said, oh, well, he was injured, and that's why he struggled at the end of the year. But now we're realizing who he is. They traded O'Hoppe stupidly. Now JT is washed. Yeah. Yeah. Heel Phil is great. I'm this close to doing what are some of the classic ways you turn heel? Kicking another wrestler in the groin. I'm this close to giving a Ric Flair low blow to Bryce Harper. I almost said Bruce Harper, the commenter, the father of the Core 12 member. I'm this close to giving a low blow to Bryce Harper and then putting him through a table. I am. In living color could not be on television nowadays. It still is occasionally, like on some of those like random channels in like the 7,000s. You'll occasionally catch little marathons of it. And whenever I find it, I leave it on for a while. I watched Married with Children yesterday at the pizza shop for like 2 hours straight. So can't believe they still show it. Just so you know, mister, if the Cosby Show is still in syndication on TV and hasn't been canceled, which it is, all right, then nothing. None of those old TV shows are getting canceled. Only guy hitting is Casty. Quit messing with leadoff. Put Schwarber back. Look, we said this. It was going to happen. It should probably just happen. You need some protection for Harper. I don't know what you do with the lineup, kid. I don't know. Because you got a bunch of guys that don't fit together. JT and Schwarber both get 2 to 3 year deals. Probably. I can understand a 2 to 3 year extension for Schwarber. JT, you're kind of backed into a corner because you have no other option. Barb, you're saying it, and I'm hearing it. I've been getting crushed for years now for calling out Bryce Harper for not running out ground balls. He's theoretically your MVP player, theoretically your leader, and he doesn't run them out. And you know how many people, when he didn't do that, was it Friday or Saturday, he didn't run out a ground ball, whatever. You know how many people, when I called him out for it, told me, what? You want him pulling a hammy in April for a meaningless baseball game? I want him to hustle. You set the tone. Just like you take on the personality of your manager, you take on the personality of your leader. This act is getting tiresome. Remember, the Nationals won their World Series after getting rid of Bryce Harper. Go figure. Yeah, why does Harper get a pass? I'm asking you your question. You were asking me a question. I'm just turning the question back on you. You make it make sense for me. Harper gets a pass, and I'm this close. I guarantee I'm talking about trading Joel Embiid now. If this season ends the way I think it's going to end, I'm going to talk about trading Bryce Harper in the offseason. I know he's got a no trade clause, and he's here forever. But you know, it's funny, and I'm going to bring this up. Both of your comments here on Bryce Harper. It's funny. When we signed Bryce Harper, I cheered, I celebrated. I was on a cruise ship. I was docked in port. I saw it flash up. We were in a port, I forget where. I didn't get off the ship. I was sitting by the pool at the pool bar, drinking beers, and it flashed up on the ESPN screen. Philly signed Bryce Harper. And I stood up and I cheered. And there was one other Phillies fan that must have heard the news at the same time across the deck on the other side of the pool who cheered. And we ran over. We found each other, two strangers cheering. And then 5 minutes later, I said, and I quote, he'll get traded before the deal's done because he's going to get frustrated, or we will. Here we are. I mean, it didn't happen in 4 years like I thought. It's going to be 7 or 8 years, but yeah. Schwarb's not taking a 2-year deal, plus he already refused an extension, no report. Yeah, exactly. So that was news to me when you guys said it the other day because I missed that Salisbury report. Harper gets the pass according to fans because he's a star and Bohm isn't. But they both do the same thing when playing bad. He's a star. He's not a homegrown star. We have to have homegrown stars. Bohm's the homegrown star. We should appreciate him more, right? Bedlam at the bank. Yeah. Bryce Harper has come up clutch at certain moments throughout his career, for sure. No doubt about it. And Bryce Harper is still a great baseball player. But has Bryce Harper done anything to set the tone, to set the culture that would get this team to win a World Series? Because that's all that matters is win a World Series. No. Bryce Harper's about Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's about him and himself. Like, what did I see last night? He did a gender reveal in game. First off, gender reveal stuff is stupid. It's getting blown out of proportions with all these different gender reveal parties and stuff like that. Whatever happened to just finding out, early or not, and just telling everybody? Why do we got to have all these gender reveal parties? But Bryce Harper, trying to win a baseball game last night, breaks out a blue bat to reveal the gender of his next baby. You're telling me while he's at the plate, striking out, mind you, with the blue bat, he's not thinking about his new baby instead of the game? And obviously the baby's more important than the game because family's more important than sports. But what kind of attitude? Like, am I wrong for doing a gender reveal in the middle of a freaking baseball game? Is wrong? I feel like it sets another tone. Harper is the guy that's being held back by his timid manager, telling Harper to stay calm and be the guy. Let Harper be who he's always been. They've ruined him. Now, there is a theory. There's a thread in this theory. You may be right. The players take on their leader's personality. Their leaders take on the personality of their manager in Rob Thompson. Where's the Bryce Harper that was ready to throw punches with Jonathan Papelbon? Bryce Harper grabbing a player like Alec Bohm and saying, Get your shit together. Where are those? Where is that? Why is he going to win? Is he being held back, or did he get the payday and he just was never that guy? I don't know the answer, but you might be right. And call me crazy. Call me crazy. Totally forgot about the gender reveal thing till just now. There is something wrong, in my opinion, about using a baseball game that you're trying to win for your gender reveal. Great. Congratulations. You're having another baby. Awesome. Reveal the information on Instagram. Okay? Reveal it on your TikTok because you're a TikTok specialist now, Bryce. Don't distract. Like that was a distraction from the game last night. The announcers were talking about distracting us from him striking out. Tell me, oh, I got a blue bat. Oh, my baby boy. Cool. Awesome. Oh, shit. I just struck out. Oh, well, whatever. I remember when the city of Philadelphia hated Harper. Cole Hamels threw at him when he was first came. I remember that too, Barf. I do. Because he played with a passion and fire. And we didn't hate him because we hated him. We didn't hate him because he wasn't Sidney Crosby, okay? It wasn't that kind of hate. We hated how good he was and how arrogant he was and how vocal he was. And I think we hated him because we wanted that on our team. I think there's a difference why we hated him. What did all the players say to start the season? We have to be more mature, calm, play the game, and not get emotional. So you've shocked the life out of the whole team. I did say I wanted more business-like approach, but a business-like approach, you can still play with intensity. You can still show that you care. You can still show emotion. I wanted no more, we got a base hit in the fourth inning. Let's do a hand signal at the dugout. I wanted less, dancing on my own and bedlam at the park and whatnot. He's still extremely arrogant, Bryce Harper. He is, absolutely. And he's still, look, we're trashing Bryce Harper right now, in theory, right now on this show. This is devolving into a Bryce Harper bash fest here. Okay? Not going to help the algorithm, for sure. But he's still one of the best baseball players out there. There's still no denying Bryce Harper is extremely talented at the game of baseball. If Bryce Harper, though, played for the Eagles, we'd be running him out of town. But it's acceptable here. If Alec Bohm played for the Eagles, he'd be run out of town. If Rob Thompson was managing the Eagles, he'd be run out of town. You take anybody from this Phillies team, put them on the Eagles, they're gone. I knew this year was going to happen with the Phillies. This team is built to play with energy, and they're not young anymore. They're not young. The daycare's old. I didn't want the daycare being called the daycare. I didn't even want half the daycare on the team. Something had to change. It didn't change. I guarantee you, if Howie Roseman ran the Phillies, Rob Thompson would be the manager, and the team would look drastically different. And he don't even know anything about baseball, probably. The leader of the team has to accept blame when he and the team are bad. Does he? That was a rhetorical question. We're coming up on the final 5-10 minutes of the show, guys. You're coming up 5 minutes left for you guys. Hit the like button, the share button, and that subscribe button if you haven't already. I guess my Malaki Starks graphic did not really boost the algo today. That's okay. We'll do it again tomorrow. Where's Beer Man? Who? Beer Man. Oh, Rick. The Beer Man. Rick. Where is he? He knew I'd be bashing the Phillies today. He probably knew what was going to be today's way of doing business. He wasn't going to be here. And he would have just typed Phillies World Series Champions 2025 like 20 times. It would have helped the algo. It really would have. We start the show at 494. We're still at 494, but it's okay. You can still hit the like, the share, and the subscribe. K1 coming in late in the final 5-10 minutes of the show today. It's better late than never, right? K1, I said it earlier. I'm going to say it again. I'm this close to going heel mode on Bryce Harper. I'm already the heel when it comes to the Sixers. I'd rather 5 years of losing if it means getting rid of Joel Embiid, Paul George, Daryl Morey, Nick Nurse. You know how many people are not blaming Nick Nurse for the Sixers struggles? He had nothing to do with it, is what I've been told. Okay. As Eric said, the gatekeeper, early in the show, you got to break an egg to make an omelet. I know eggs are expensive. But sometimes you got to spend and break that egg to make yourself your breakfast. Georgia's not a powerhouse in college anymore. Yeah, I don't know on that. I don't watch college sports much. So I don't know where they sit in the powerhouse rankings right now. Eric is a wise man. And I love his comment. I loved his comment. Got to break an egg to make an omelet. And like I said, eggs are freaking expensive right now. So it's going to cost you a ton to fix the Eagles and the Phillies, or the Sixers and the Phillies. But they're afraid to spend that money. Nurse is complete. Absolutely is. Do you know how many people told me yesterday it's not Nick Nurse's fault? He was put in a bad position. It's everybody when they look about the Sixers, it's everybody else's fault, but not the fault of the people in charge. The best homegrown talent on this roster is Bohm. It's a team full of free agent mercenaries. You can win a World Series with free agents. You don't need homegrown talent in baseball to win a World Series. You don't. More than half that Phillies team in 08 was mercenaries, if you want to call them that. Think about that team. You had Howard, Utley, and Rollins. Third base was a mercenary. Ruiz, I think he was a homegrown talent. And Hamels, the rest of the starting rotation wasn't homegrown. Your outfield wasn't all homegrown. Victorino wasn't homegrown. One of the most popular Phillies of all time, not homegrown. Nurse isn't a good coach. He's the same as Doc Rivers. He's got a title in a bad year. With luck, he's not good. Yeah. Morey and Elton Brand, who I don't know what he. Elton Brand's a coffee boy. He's an errand boy. Burrow was homegrown. Yeah. Victorino wasn't. Worth wasn't. And they replaced Worth with Raul Banez, who wasn't. There's a lot of non-home. Who were the starting pitchers that year outside of Hamels? Blanton, not homegrown. Moyer, not homegrown. Kyle Kendrick might have been homegrown. I'm not sure when he got here. The bullpen, Brad Lidge, not homegrown. Ryan Madsen was. J.C. Romero, I'm not sure if he was or not. There was a lot of not homegrown guys on that 08 Phillies team. Who cares? This Phillies team is not going to win the World Series. And people are going to say, well, we win 94 games and we made it to the playoffs. That's a successful season. No! I don't care about wins. I care about titles. Yeah, who knew Pat Burrell could hit? No, he could. My wife asked about him. And then he popped up on the screen. I didn't even know he popped up on the screen. Nurse called him beat a fat flopper when he was coaching Toronto. Yeah. He wasn't a fan of Embiid, was he? In Toronto. Now he's got to coach him. Look. I don't even know. Like, this show did not go as I expected. I expected to bring the Malaki Starks conversation and talk. I got a Tanner McKee thing here and thread here. You know, something there that I wanted to talk about. We'll save that for tomorrow. This show has made me realize like, going heel just might be the way I got to do it. You can have free agents, but your main guys have to. Why? Please explain why. We got less than 5 minutes here, but you got to explain it. Why? Why do you have to have homegrown talent? It is unreal how annoying. Wait, that press conference the other day. Daryl Morey said we're both returning. Nick Nurse looked like he was like, damn it, I wanted to get fired. Barb, thank you very much. It's Easter week, guys. Easter's the start of new beginnings, spring. Yet here we are at the same old, same old. with the Philadelphia sports scene. This is just like some homegrown. I like homegrown something, but not my team. Anyway. Tonight, 6 p.m., right here live on the STT Sports Network. Jason, Steven, and myself will be back with another episode of Fairway to Heaven, talking about Rory McIlroy's Big Masters win and this week's RBC Heritage down in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Got some interesting picks this week. Got some interesting things to say, so make sure you tune in. Fat Flopper is hilarious. It is. It's easier to build on an incumbent culture his homegrown players. Maybe. The culture isn't being built right now, and there's a lot of homegrown players. So, you know what? Whatever they're doing right now ain't working. Whatever the Sixers are doing ain't working. And no pick in the top 5 is going to change the outcome for the Sixers. Well, you still got Joel Embiid and Paul George here. It's just not going to happen. It's going to be more of the same. And that is it. Notebooks closed. That means it's time to wrap this shebang up. It's time to say goodbye to all my friends and family. MICKEYMOUSE. Yeah, whatever. I don't know where that came from. Anyway. We'll talk more Eagles tomorrow. Maybe we'll start with the Eagles. Start positively. Although I always start the show with Did the Phillies Win? We'll start tomorrow's show with Did the Phillies Win? And we'll see. I don't even know. Who goes for the Phillies tonight? Let's see here. Phillies. Who's on the mound tonight against the Giants? Justin Verlander. I forgot he was even on the Giants. Versus Jesus Luzardo, who's been fantastic so far in his Phillies career. Homegrown talent still has delusions of grandeur. They are better leaders. Remember what Jimmy Rollins did. Sure. Maybe your leader has to be homegrown. Maybe. See you real soon. That's right. Anyway. We'll be talking about Justin Verlander and his 60-year-old arm cutting the Phillies' bats down. Probably. We'll see. We'll have a new lineup to talk about tomorrow. There's no culture. Exactly. Good morning, Dante. We're wrapping it up. You're a little late here. We're in the final minutes of the show here, but yes, it's laughable, Dante. Laughable. I'm going to do one more day. Today will be the last day. Today will be the last day. Because why continue doing something when it's not going to be changed? So it's exhausting doing it every day, too. Anyway. All right, time to wrap this up. Everybody have a great Tuesday. We're back tomorrow. Same bat time. Same bat channel. We're back tonight at 6 p.m. with Fairway to Heaven. Everybody have a great Tuesday, guys. Go Birds. Bubbles up.
Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep.